Hello VC, it's Alexander from Wax and Wine, and I'm back. New video, 2025. Meant to get this video out a lot sooner. Wanted to put a wrap on 2024, just kind of keep you abreast of what has happened in terms of collecting, right? A few more thrift scores, a few beautiful records that I picked up at a record store. Yeah, just wanted to share. I hope everyone had an amazing end to 2024. Without further ado, let's get into it. Let's talk about it. So I'm gonna paint the picture. We're gonna start in San Pedro, California. So you're at the port of Los Angeles. You're off the 110 freeway. It is a very busy area, very cool area. This area has some real punk rock history. The Minutemen were formed down there. Nearby, SST Records forms in Long Beach, but I think has a small residency in San Pedro. Cool local restaurants, you have a great fish market. So there's a lot of cool things that take you down there, right? There's a thrift store that I'll go to occasionally, and records are priced very reasonably. And in there, I found this, Mr. Herman Dune, Sweet Thursday. Now, I had no idea what this was. I actually thought it was a punk record, and picked it up. It was $1. And, got a little crease here, but otherwise we have like pristine vinyl. Turns out this is on Santa Cruz Records. Santa Cruz Records, based off Santa Cruz Street there in San Pedro. And so it's a local product. I don't think he's originally from San Pedro, California, but that's his residency as of now. And kind of a folk, indie, singer-songwriter, a little more jangly, kind of reminds me of Clem Snide and that vibe. So fun, irreverent, and lighthearted music, cool sound. The song Sweet Thursday, the title track, and also Down by the Jacaranda. You know, if you spent any time in Long Beach or San Pedro, you'll kind of recognize the soundscape that he's creating. Really, really incredible stuff. Very happy for $1, can't beat it. Now, earlier in 2024, I found out that Mr. Henry Rollins, the legendary Fanatics, has his own channel on YouTube. So he was waxing poetically, and mind you, I could listen to Henry Rollins talk about music kind of all day, discovering genres and just diving deep into the musicianship and the whole thing. It's really gripping. So he was going on about his bandmates and his, his label mates, and his first trip out west, meeting the guys from like Minutemen and the Descendants and such, going on these tours, right? And one of the glaring holes after watching Mr. Henry Rollins talk was the Minutemen. I never got into the Minutemen, and I remembered one of my favorite shop clerks. So he doesn't own the record store, but he works down at Factory Records. The guy's amazing. Was telling me something that I think kind of makes a lot of sense. He said, I think when you're younger and you're into punk, the Minutemen might not work for you. But if you're older, kind of in that sweet spot, as you're moving towards middle age, it starts to get a lot better and a lot more appreciated. And I think that's totally how I feel about it. It's kind of that Steely Dan effect. You've firmly hit middle age when Steely Dan just takes off, and you're like, man, give me more Pretzel Logic. So it was a mission for me to get a record that is San Pedro stamped through and through. Also, fun fact, Charles Bukowski delivered mail in San Pedro. Can't even imagine that. Of course, I had to make it a mission, got it pretty quickly. Double nickels on the dime. Mr. Mike Watt driving his car. There is the 110 freeway sign. He's headed to San Pedro. This is a wonderful gatefold. This is not an original, but like a second copy. This is the only record I'm going to show that I got on eBay. And so it has those beige labels, but trust me, the matrix tracks, and it is in fact a second of this record. Happy to have this. This is high voltage punk in short bursts. There's a lot of funk happening, good strong bass lines. I mean, every song's over in an instant, but a lot of energy, a lot of high output. we obviously know songs like Corona to open up Jackass. That was kind of my only exposure to this band, but so happy to have that. I hope one day I can run into this guy down there. San Pedro, hell of a town, super cool. We're gonna keep on the thrift train here. So this next find is exactly the kind of copy of thing you want to find. So I found a Beatles record, I found a Harry Nilsson record, I found a bunch of stuff. But I did find kind of the ultimate copy, not ultimate, sorry, the ultimate thrift store copy of this record. This is Moondance by Mr. Van Morrison. So it comes out in 1970, the gatefold. You know, it's a VG sleeve for sure. We've got a little seam split. We got some writing from our original owner on there. This is an album for me, while not my favorite, is an album I listen to a lot because there's a nostalgia effect. My parents had this on CD, and they had that Sam Cooke live record that I've talked about before. And both of those albums I played a lot on CD. Into the Mystic makes me feel things, a lot going on just on the A side from Caravan and everything else, right? Moondance, right? It's always a marvelous night for that. Delicious. So this was $1.99, as were the other records I mentioned. Really cool to get that Harry Nilsson. Aside from a little writing on the inlay, that is a strong VG+. That's my third copy of that album. So I have a modern remaster, and then I have a record that I actually don't like to spin a lot just because it's kind of valuable, but with the timing strip, an original promo of Moondance. So very, very happy to have that. And again, so this next grouping of records I found at a place that I had scored. It had been almost a year since the last time I had just kind of this epic dig. So I really, truthfully, go in nearly a year, don't buy a single thing, but I go and check it because the last time I was there, I made a video about it, and it was called Thrift Store Jackpot. It's my most watched video, and I mean, I left with the Strata East record, I left with Blue Notes and Riversides, and everything was in superb shape. A lot of radio edits and DJ promotional records, so unbelievable. So about a month ago, I found, you know, I could see it from just as I'm walking towards the rack. I could see an Ella Fitzgerald record, I saw this Aretha Franklin record, and I just was like, uh-oh, it's happening again. You don't know what condition everything's in, but then I checked it out, everything kind of checked out. This is one of those great live records. This is live at the Fillmore West. I apologize for any glare. Very, very clean copy. Everything here at this store is $2. This one, I have a buddy who's super into Les Baxter, so it was the only reason I was going to grab it. This is like a phenomenal kind of like bossa-esque, you know, Latin, African vibe. African Blue, 1969 copy. Tremendous arrangements, orchestration, right? Brings to mind the Juan Garcia Esquivel. You have the Arthur Lyman sound. You kind of got that beautiful stereo, all-encompassing, funky. This is a little more tasteful. This is a little bit more otherworldly, but great. And for $2, I had no idea how rare that record was. And then, like I said, I picked up some Miles Davis. I picked up a bunch of stuff. Now, this was really not as hot as the first time I found all that other stuff, but there were a lot of jazz fusion records, so I did get a Chick Corea record, and kind of in that period, right? Like you're talking mid-70s and such, Roberta Flack, things like that. And then this, to me, was the best find of the bunch. Now, I had a very clean copy that I just traded away because this copy is even cleaner. Mr. Monk, Mr. Thelonious on Columbia with the straight no chaser. This is an original 2i stereo copy. I had a stereo copy that I thought was very clean. This thing is excellent shape. Amazing. Again, $2 for all of them. I love Thelonious. I love piano jazz, and I specifically love how edgy that player was. Just kind of in a different zone his whole career, right? You have other players who play lyrically, who play beautifully, who are supportive of cast and ensemble. And then you have Monk, who's kind of like leading the charge. The best I ever heard, I think, was Dan the Vinyl Shepherd, who said it's like a cat walking over your piano. and it's just so intentionally raw and creative. There's a lot to respect there. So again, $2 for all of those. Yeah, that was a fantastic dig. Seems like only once a year. It's worth checking in. So cool. All right. So this next set is one of the best digs. Now this happened right before Christmas. I went up to Oregon to visit my parents for the holidays. And while we were up there, my mom always wants to get out, so she runs a bed and breakfast up there. And we went down to a local Goodwill. I had scored there in the past, nothing major, but fun records. And it's always fun to see what ends up at a Goodwill. So I'm in there, I'm digging around. They had kind of quadrupled their collection from the last time I was in that store. And I'm poking around. I found an Ella in Berlin, so Ella Live record. And I found a Stravinsky record, and I felt pretty good. And then one of the workers saw me in there, like really looking through all the records, and he said, "So I just want to let you know, I've just put out a bunch of new records, but the one thing is they're all going to be $9.99." He goes, "They're right over there." So I said, "Okay, great. Thank you so much for letting me know." And kind of did the poker face, was very polite, but like, you don't want to get too excited. You don't know what it's going to be, but turned out it was a pretty good drop. So I'm the first guy on the scene. I start looking, and like the first thing I met with is a David Bowie record. It was some RSD release. It was an EP. And so again, everything's $9.99. So that's kind of your price of admission. But I mean, there was everything from David Bowie to The Who. You had Billie Eilish to Olivia Newton-John. So of course, there were some kind of sad records that came in on the same collection. Not sad in the music, but like you don't want to pay $9.99 for Olivia Newton-John. But anyway, there was a big collection of like her music and Nat King Cole that was just in the same drop. But a lot of Target exclusives and Walmart exclusives. So I'll show you kind of a fraction of what I got. It's a lot of cool stuff. And again, it was an opportunity. I didn't want to be a pig. There was Metallica I could have left with. There was Iron Maiden. There were things that I got to be honest, I'm not really going to listen to. I left with a couple Nirvana records. This is one of them. Nevermind. So very, very good record. Obviously, it kind of reads like a greatest hits in a way. It really is as good as they say. So the grunge guys. This was probably the best find of the bunch according to Discogs. So Physical Graffiti, this is an original release, Swan Song Records there, 1975 press from the United States. This one does have a smidge of damage there, water damage, but the records themselves are fine and dandy. So yeah, that's a powerful record. Definitely happy to have that. And then the only one I regret is not getting Hackney Diamonds. They had, like a Target exclusive on that. Probably should have got that. They had a few other UK like mono and stereo copies of Rolling Stones, but those other two that I left behind were not clean. But the majority of this collection was just VG plus to excellent across the board. So I'll start with maybe the weakest of the bunch, which is Undercover. But I don't have this record, and I thought $10 and no sales tax in Oregon, right? So $9.99 on the dot. I was very happy to have that. Pristine. There's Satanic Majesty's Request. This is the non-lenticular, so early stereo copy of that. Super clean. I have a lenticular US stereo already, but I just wanted to have that again, the non-lenticular lens there. I had never seen this. Now, this is a UK stereo copy, No Stones Unturned. Fantastic album. But really my favorite was this UK mono copy, the Rolling Stones. Bada boom, bada bing. And whoever had this collection before kept it in such beautiful shape, and they had those original inner sleeves. This one is kind of my bread and butter for the Rolling Stones. Fantastic music. So yeah, $9.99 for each of those. I also left with Linkin Park and a David Bowie record, but I tried to be good and let others have a lot of fun in there too. And I was happy with what I grabbed. All right, and to wrap up the thrift store amazement this year. So the thrift stores have treated me well. I kind of rely on them more. I have so many great record stores now. I'm in Los Angeles proper, so these big cities like New York, Chicago, LA, I'm guessing with those two you're gonna have a lot of success in thrift stores. They're also going to get picked over. There's a lot of other guys and girls digging for records, right? Almost every time I go into a thrift store, there's already somebody there. Now, this is one of the only spots. There's somebody who watches this channel. Reach out on Instagram, and I'm happy to share most of these locations. This one I won't give up because I score it every time I go here. This was on Black Friday. I did make a deal with Claudia, my other half here, to go to Atomic Records. And when we're out in Burbank area, Atomic Records, by the way, one of the best. There's a few clothing shops that she likes to go to. So we would go to the clothing shops and I would go to Atomic, and then we would, kind of meet in the middle, and I'd get her some stuff. But I said, before we go there, let's hit a thrift shop. It's a thrift shop over there. Let's see what we got. And hopefully we score, and we don't even need to get clothing or whatever. So in the thrift store, she finds a few cool things for her, and I beeline it to those records, and there's already a guy in there. And now this guy is a professional reseller. I see him at the flea markets, very nice guy. But I didn't like my chances. I was like, shoot, Burbank is not close to me. So I just drove kind of all the way out there, and there's already someone picking it over. And so I go, well, I'm here. Let me go check it out. Well, he obviously wasn't looking for jazz because I saw this in the bins, and I thought, wow, that's a curious cover. I've never seen that. I look at the personnel on there, and I only recognize the pianist, which is Kenny Barron. Of course, I'm talking about Dave Burns. This is on Vanguard. This is an original mono copy. This is VG Plus all day. At this thrift store, everything's $1.99. There is no markups. There are no ideas that, hey, this record's more expensive than that. I've gotten boxes there, box CDs, everything's $1.99. It's pretty amazing. So $1.99, this is, according to Discogs, my best find. Very straight ahead playing. There's some beautiful ballads on here. This was a great trumpeter. He is joined by none other than a Mr. Herbie Morgan on tenor sax. Now remember that name for the next set of records I'm going to show. But yeah, that's my best find, $1.99, and it looks to be about a $200 record. Okay, so this last set, not from thrift, this was from a record store. I had just spent a full month off buying records, so I got this on like November 1st. So I took the whole month of October off, just went to thrift to kind of help ease the pain. And I went to a store that I always go to when I'm up in Ventura. It's called Grady's Records. They're fantastic. Grady's Record Refuge. Really cool store. I've had success there. Never anything quite this exciting. This was the first record that he had. It wasn't even on the wall. It was just in their jazz, like high-end section. Holy stuff. And talking about a gem, Mr. Grant Green. So this is a stereo copy. This is Dead Mint with your original price tag from the Jazz Exchange, where you got 2 records for $365. So here he's joined with the great Larry Young and Elvin Jones. This is fantastic. So this originally comes out in '65. If it were an original, it probably would have cost me closer to $150, but I paid $75 for this thing. Super clean, super soulful jazz guitar player. Him with Larry on the background on the organ. It just feels like good old-fashioned, churchy, soulful playing. The other record I saw right behind that, clearly purchased from the same place, Larry Young. That was his second pick, the original owner, for $365 from the Jazz Exchange. Now this is Larry Young here, and he's got kind of some more forward-thinking players. We have Eddie Gale on trumpet, James Spaulding on the alto sax and flute, Herbert Morgan, who we just saw with that Dave Burns record, credited as Herbie Morgan. And then you have 2 different drummers. You have Wilson Mormon III and Jerry Thomas on drums. Now this is an original New York copy, mono copy. fantastic playing. Larry Young, so this is a rare copy. I paid $50 for this, again, in the shrink, dead mint. I'll show you just a little touch of the paper here. Holy heck. The New York center labels, I just don't want to take it out. I'm not the craziest fan of jazz organ. Now, Larry Young is in a special place because for me as a composer, not me personally as a composer, but him composing, he pushes the envelope, man. He really kind of goes forward thinking and has a wonderful career arc in his playing, right? I have another record that I found, probably one of the best finds ever in my collection, was The Prince of Newark. I paid $6 at an antique store for that record. But that's Larry Young kind of getting out there, right? And so just not afraid to play at the edges and really kind of take the organ into a place that it's not really as familiar, kind of out of the church and into the heavens. So really playing around and really makes it an enthralling listen. So that's it, guys. That's what I found. That's what I was up to in 2024. I had a whole host of other records. I did buy a lot of new music. I just didn't want to make this too long. But I look forward to sharing more and more often with you guys. So I hope everyone's well. I hope your 2025 is off to the races. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.